Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap podcast with your hosts, Jody Roscoe and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time.
Welcome to the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. How do you know if you're ready to downsize? Yes. 7 questions today we're going to give you that you can ask yourself and maybe come to that conclusion, whether now's the time or, that time frame. Is it a couple years down the road? Is it an immediate need? Is it, I'm good for now, but maybe I should think about getting ready to be ready?
Yeah, I think the thing we hear the most is that people feel stuck. Because they have too much stuff. They just feel kind of overwhelmed by the whole process. They aren't sure where to start, and so they don't.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a little self-assessment today. I'm Heather Fisher.
I'm Jody Roscoe.
And we're just going to try to help you understand whether your life and your home and your goals are pointing towards that next place and the way they should be to get you where you want to go and where you need to go.
Yeah, I'm thinking if you're here listening to us, you might be already in this bucket a little bit, but you might be at the very, very early stages, or you might be like, let's go, I'm ready right now. So if you're if you're at those early stages, maybe this can help clarify a little bit for you on what that next step looks like. So
yeah, and where you are at on that road.
Yeah. So question number 1, is my current home supporting the life I want, or is it holding it hostage?
Yeah, that's a tough one. We all love our homes so much, and that tipping point of going from one end of that to the other happens slowly and then quickly.
Yeah.
And, it could be fast approaching. You could already be there where your home isn't working for you, or you could be, living light and easy in your head, like, oh, this is all good, but you haven't considered the things that might be obstacles soon, steps or too much to take care of, and then something comes crashing down the road and it's not working well.
Yeah, I mean, your home should serve you and your lifestyle. I mean, that's what downsizing really is choosing a place that works for you and, the things that you care about, and that it might be less things that you have now, but we see patterns in this, and so what we see is, people aren't using the formal dining room, they aren't using the whole basement, they aren't using the whole upstairs. They're
using it to store things, Jody.
Yes, they're keeping the things in there, but you're going to have spare bedrooms or things like that, and so it's unrealistic to think that a home is going to serve you for your entire life, because you go through different stages in life, Yeah. Maybe you had kids for, in that home for a while, and maybe you needed all that space, and that space worked fantastically for you then. Maybe you were great with the 2-story house at one point, and now, the stairs are a little bit more daunting, or whatever that is. But usually it's just we don't need as much space as we did because we have it's a different time in life, right?
Yeah, I think in the early phases in life, we quickly recognize when a space isn't working for us, because it's usually we're busting at the seams for some reason. We just need more space. More people have joined the family, have had kids, all of that. It's harder to recognize without really putting thought process to how often do I use all of the spaces in my home.
Yeah, and you're heating them and you're cleaning them, and all of those things are happening. And so has it become more of a burden on you, and you haven't even realized it because you're used to just doing all those things, but you might not have to. And I think that's back to that first step that we have of being dreamy and thinking, what could my life look like, right? And it could look different than this. And I think sometimes we just literally don't think about it. We're just in a space that we just don't think about whether it's serving us or not. We just are living in it.
Yeah, data shows that the average American only uses 40 to 50% of their available square footage regularly.
Half the house.
Yeah. But you have to really think about that and decide what spaces you're not using regularly.
Yeah. So, take an inventory in your mind. What rooms are adding you stress instead of joy, or what rooms just you don't even go into anymore, that are the dusty ones that you have to clean just, so they can be there. What would an ideal day look like in your next chapter? This is all that dreamy stuff. Does this home support that ideal day? If it was a tool, if your home was a tool, is it still the right one for the job, from what you want out of life?
Yeah. Question 2, am I spending more time maintaining my home than enjoying it?
This one we hear a lot too. The yard's too much for me now. This is, too much. The space is too big to clean and take care of. We hear that a lot.
Yeah, things that maybe used to not take as long can take longer, so they're harder to manage. You do them less often because they take longer than they once did. Maybe some safety or mobility issues that make them just not feasible to do at all. And so they just weigh on you knowing they should be done, but they're not happening, and that's a mental load to carry.
I think one that we see them a lot is that the laundry's in the basement, and the bedrooms are upstairs. We live in a area that has a lot of basements.
Yeah.
But even if the laundry's downstairs and your bedroom's upstairs, carrying the laundry down 1 or 2 flights of stairs might have used to be just fine, and now that's not so great anymore.
Yeah, with the laundry for sure, and sometimes even just up and down the stairs throughout the day, where you once maybe bounded up and down many times. Now you have to put a lot more thought process into, do I have everything I need from up here? Because I'm not coming back up until the end of the day.
Yeah, right. And then there's a lot of cost in maintenance in a house, right? And the bigger the house, the more maintenance there's going to be to it. So deferred maintenance we see a lot when people that just gets overwhelming and out of hand, and that can lower the price that you can get for your house when you sell it. So not only is it's costing you, in more ways than when you're not fixing stuff, and then if you are fixing it, that's a cost too, right? So there's cost both ways. But the increased cost of, repairs and maybe feeling overwhelmed by what needs to be done to the house just to keep regular maintenance going.
Yeah, and as those costs shift to hiring someone to do small pieces, that add up over time becomes quite a load each month if you have multiple things that you're hiring out that you once did yourself.
Yeah, the AARP says that homeowners 65 and over spend $3,800 or more a year on maintenance and repairs. That's not including major systems like your HVAC system and all of that. Just that's the grass and whatever else that needs to be done because it's too much.
Yeah, getting gutters cleaned out and things like that.
And sometimes emotionally it weighs on you as well. You feel guilty. Those things need to be done, and you're not doing them, and that's a mental weight on you that you have that checklist in your head, but you're not getting to it. And so those are some red flags of hey, it's time to start thinking about moving somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. If time were currency, are you spending it where it matters, or
Right.
are you just constantly working on trying to keep up on the to-do list at the house?
But yeah, because if you're spending time on that and you don't want to be, what could you be spending that time on, right?
Yeah.
Could you be with your family? Could you be on a trip? Could you be doing other things that are more enjoyable to you than, taking care of the house that's too big? So,
Yeah.
okay, question number 3. Is my financial picture aligned with staying, or would a move give me breathing room?
Yeah, downsizing isn't only about saving money, it's about the flexibility that you get with how you're spending your money and what you're doing with the extra.
Yeah.
All of that adds up.
Yeah, I mean, number one, there's lots of equity in most of the houses that we see that are people are downsizing from. So lots of equity that you can use to do other things. But then there's also stuff that people, kind of don't think about, like the property taxes on a larger house are bigger. Utilities are more. Insurance is more.
Yeah.
If you have a mortgage on it, and you're still paying, but you could buy a house that's smaller for a little bit less money, that's an opportunity to save some money there. So, and then the cost of maintaining the space we've just talked about. So there's a lot of costs that go around it that people aren't thinking about. They're thinking the house is paid off, it's fine.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of costs that are still happening.
Yeah, it's a great thing to evaluate and take a look at that full picture.
Yeah, so homeowners that are downsizing, a 1,000 square feet or so, often reduce their annual housing expenses by 20 to 30%. And that's because less to heat, less to, manage in all those different ways.
Yeah.
Taxes, utilities, and all of that.
Yeah, so that's that breathing room that you can gain potentially with a move. And what does that allow you in your life? Is that money that you can travel to see family or to take a vacation? What does that free up that is a little lighter feeling than maintaining a house that you're not using?
Right.
all
So
of the
if you're
spaces
looking
in?
at it as a math problem instead
Yeah.
of as an emotional, sentimental, problem, what does it look like?
Yeah.
And, you have to weigh all the pieces, but if you're just looking at it as a financial math problem, what does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, question number 4. Is my health or my spouse's health changing how we live in this home? This we see so often.
And this is when it gets sad, actually. It gets to a place where people haven't made the changes that they need to make early enough, and then they're in a place that they do feel stuck in, where mobility may be a problem. This happened to my mom and my grandma, where all the bedrooms were upstairs. There's not a full bath on the main floor. They can't go up the stairs. It turns into something that's not a great place. It's definitely not working for you. And you might not be in that place yet, but if you got to a place, it's not great to think about those things sometimes. Sometimes we kind of have to think about what ifs. But would the house work for you?
Yeah, I witnessed this with my parents, going through the same with the 2-story and the stairs, and it just going from small inconveniences to, now this is a big problem that we can't overcome. But when you wait till that last minute, the solutions are so much narrower, and the ability to make those changes is so much harder in the midst of a crisis or a change in health, a change in the ability to use the house. And so thinking about it early, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily ready for, 24-hour nursing care and all of that, but you're setting yourself up to a place that might be easier to stay in longer and to make that your, home that you can age in place and make those decisions early when it's wide open on your choices.
Yeah. Again, the earlier you do it, the more choices you have. And so we want everybody to do it early so that they have all the choices, because we've seen it many, many times where that move has been pushed down the road until there are very few choices left, and not great ones. So 80% of adults over 65 want single level living, but only 37% of our homes in the United States offer it. So, so there's a shortage of the ranch style home that we need, the single level home that we need to move into. So, think about that in your future. If you find something you like, maybe it's time to get it and move through that.
Yeah, number one, you don't want to be fighting against a shortage when you're up against that clock and really need that.
Right.
But we see a lot of new construction going up, in our area. I'm sure it's the same everywhere. And people are kind of like, we can't possibly need, more housing. But I think it's just we had such a few decades where it was the just larger homes and the 2 stories, and all of the building is not making as much sense as our population ages, and we need more ranches and just more flexibility for that longer term lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If you had minor surgery and you had a 6-week recovery, could you easily function in your home?
Yeah.
So just, And I think a lot of us are like, oh, but it's only 6 weeks and it'll be fine. But, that just kind of gives you an idea of what if it wasn't, what if it was a little bit of a longer mobility problem, what would that look like? So that kind of gives you a reference to think about how your house might work or not work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, question number 5. Is my home emotionally heavy?
And why?
Yeah.
What's causing that?
I think emotional readiness is just as important as logistics, right? Because I think if you're a sentimental kind of person, then it's a very painful thing to try to make all these decisions. And we just did a episode on how your brain works. So go listen to that one if you're having trouble with it, because the science around it is really interesting. But your house can be heavy if it's tied to difficult memories. Sometimes that's comforting. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it feels, heavy on you, having memories of people who may not be there anymore, or feeling stuck in old roles or years of unfinished projects, right? You had an identity that you were creating in that house, and you might have moved past it, but you are stuck in it because you're still in the house living in it.
Yeah, you haven't been able to stretch past that and look at your choices and make that, just get started down that path so that you can make a choice for something different. And you just kind of get in that rut of living with the things that are unfinished, or, living with way too many items from someone else that you're surrounded by, or just living with the memory and having fear of that you'll feel like you're letting that person go if you move from a space when you've lost someone.
Right.
Where that's not the case at all. You can take that legacy with you and find ways for it to be wonderful at the next spot.
Yeah, sometimes the weight is guilt around the stuff, and you feel like guilty for letting it go. Maybe it was somebody else's stuff that you've acquired, and now you don't know what to do with it, and you can't take it with you. Or maybe it's your own stuff and you have trouble letting go of that. But guilt can make things feel heavy. And maybe just you have outgrown the house, and you're not thinking about it like that. You're just living in it, but you actually have outgrown it, and you're ready to grow beyond it. And so you need to take those steps to make that happen.
Yeah, you don't honor your past by storing it. You honor it by acknowledging it and, displaying some parts of it and just enjoying those memories.
Yeah. So does your house make you have energy and feel great, or does it drain you, when you're walking from room to room? Is it like, ugh, there's all this stuff in this room and there's all this stuff in this room? Or is it like, ugh, I love sitting in this room and, drinking my coffee and reading my book here. It feels so great. So you can change that in your house that you have now if the house itself works and the stuff isn't working.
Yeah.
Or maybe it needs to be a whole new place. But,
yeah, finding that new refreshed energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, question number 6. If I fast forward 2 years, would I regret staying or moving? So we find most of the time, I would say very, very few people say, I wish I hadn't done this. Everybody says, I wish I had done it sooner.
Yeah, everyone that comes to our class, and then they come back to our class to visit with us and talk with us, and that's constantly the message we get. They're so much happier that they made the move. Their life is a little lighter. But I love this question because you're kind of forcing yourself from a different direction into that dream it. Part of it at the beginning of our plan. You're looking in that fast forward and looking through the lens of, okay, what if I did nothing? How am I going to feel about that? And that can really give you some clues as to whether it's time to do something or whether you're okay for a little bit.
Well, and 2 years out gives you far enough to think. Like, it's not like next month or next, 6 months from now or whatever. It gives you kind of a good little future of like what might that look like, and if the stairs are a problem now, what are they going to be like in 2 years? Or if you're tired of mowing the lawn now, how are you going to feel about it in 2 years?
Yeah.
Or whatever that looks like. Think back to that dreaming. Think about what that is, and then imagine yourself both staying and going. What's harder if you stay? What's better? What's harder? What becomes possible if you move? What's easier?
Yeah. those 2 years are going to go by whether you do anything or not. So it's just deciding with that forward-thinking lens what you want to accomplish, and then breaking that down into, those chunks that can get you to where you want to be 2 years from now. We're always encouraging, even if you're not quite ready for a move, everybody's ready to get started, or we hope they will get started, even if they don't feel quite ready, so that you're just ready for the opportunities that come your way, or ready if, unfortunately something harder, a crisis, a health change comes, you're ready, and you have that piece of just being ready to be ready.
Yeah, people tend to regret inaction more than action. Like, so if you're thinking over your life, you would regret things that you didn't do versus things that you did do. Yeah. So think about that, and when you think about those 2 years from now, are you feeling which possibility do you feel relieved from? Do you feel like, oh gosh, it would be so great to be in a different place, I just can't see how to get there? Then that means you need to go. You need to start working on figuring out how to get there, and we can help you with all of those pieces. But if you're like, no, I love this place and it works great.
Yeah. So question 7 goes hand in hand with that. We started to talk about it, but do I feel ready to begin even if I'm not ready to finish?
Yeah.
So this is that, it's okay to get started. I know this is in my future at some point. Am I ready to let my walls down and start with easy, start going through some junk drawers, start going through the pantry, and start building a little momentum, so you're testing the waters and just seeing, back to all that science we talked about last episode. Are you getting some dopamine hits from having a few cleaner spaces and, gathering information? If you haven't been out to tour any senior communities anytime recently, they're beautiful, they're wonderful. If that's something that's potentially on the horizon for the next 5 or 10 years down the road, just go get start getting yourself used to that comfort level of how wonderful they are, and make that a long-term plan.
And a lot of them have waiting lists.
Yeah.
So if that's what you think your plan might be, go see them sooner rather than later and find out what the logistics of that could be, because you might think, in your head, you might think, I know that I'm going to go to this great community where my friends, we've all talked about it. We think it's, a great place or whatever, but you haven't gone to talk to them. And so when you're ready, you're like, okay, I'm ready. And they're like, well, that's great. You can get one in 3 years. And so honestly, we have places here, and I'm assuming that's similar around the country, that you would want to get on a waiting list just in case. And it's okay. It's okay to get yourself ready and make those choices and be able to visualize where you're going next, and unburden yourself. Just start to unburden yourself of your stuff, and just see how that feels. And you can stay where you are. You can always stay where you are, right?
Yeah.
But letting yourself move forward by unburdening yourself of some of that stuff. And something else we hear a lot is, I'm just going to let my kids deal with all this stuff. And as the kid that had to do that, don't do that. Don't do that, because it's your stuff that you have been shepherding through life. So it's your choice to make to know what happens with it. And your kids aren't going to know what all exactly is important to you, what you want to keep as your legacy. They won't know all those things, and so it's such a gift. It's such a gift to help them. And it's by going through it. And it's cathartic for you too.
Yeah, and I think when we hear people say that, they're skipping over those years where even if they're leaving it for their kids to deal with in the end, those later years of their life, they're still living under that burden of it. So the opportunity to just have so much more freedom and, less weight of life and stuff on you to, enjoy whatever time each of us has left, you're just keeping that burden on yourself and passing it to your kids.
Yeah.
So if you can get past that and get started, that's definitely the path to take.
Yeah. So being ready, again, it doesn't mean you have everything, all the answers, but being ready, it looks like you're curious, you're curious instead of avoiding it. You're willing to have conversations about it or learn about it or go out and look at places. You want less stress in your life, and you know that path will get you there. And you recognize that life, can flow more easily if you have less obligations.
Yeah, and getting started can be small. It could be sorting one drawer, having a conversation with your adult children, taking one tour, or going for a lunch and learn somewhere, calling us or, an organizing company, anything like that, to just begin looking at your strategy.
Yeah, the only way you can get clear on what you think you want is to act and do things, whether that's cleaning out, whether that's finding where the next place might be, whether that's going and looking at ranches, whatever that looks like. Acting is what's going to get clarity. Think about what you think you want to have and then act on what that is, right? So spend some time. The action there of the dreamy part is writing down what you think you want it to be. So like, if, physically thinking and spending some time writing that down, and then act on those thoughts.
Yeah, so if you have been listening along and we've gone through 7 questions and you answered yes to some of them, but not all of them, what do you do now?
Yeah, I think I think there's some places you could be, right? You could be in, I'm absolutely ready. You could be in, I think I'm pretty ready. You could be in, I'm mentally getting ready for that. Like I'm preparing to be ready, and then you're not ready. So if you're absolutely ready, you can reach out to us at downsizingroadmap.com/help, and we will help you, speed through that process. If you are nearly ready, you could also reach out to us. That's probably still a good time to do that.
Yeah.
If you're mentally preparing, just a few logistical signs, but you need more information to reduce that anxiety, I would start 15 minutes a day, going through your things, go see, some houses.
Yeah.
If you're moving if you think, hey, I want to move to a new location, go visit it. Maybe get an Airbnb there for a little bit and see what it looks like to be there. Just kind of start getting yourself ready. And if you're not ready, keep listening to our podcast.
Yeah. If you're starting to feel ready, our downsizing guide is a great next step. It's a lot of information that we talk about on the podcast, and just some more questions to ask yourself, and some more exercises to get started, and some challenges and things to do to get started. So that's on our website as well. downsizingroadmap.com/guide is a great place to get started.
That has the whole dreamy thing and all of that stuff in there that you can just start using.
Walk through that path until you're ready to give us a call. I do feel like if you're feeling just like not ready at all, something brought you to our podcast,
right,
our class. Something is, just tugging on your mind. So that might be just some more questions as to what was the triggers that brought you there, and are there maybe more yeses that you're just not quite willing to admit to yet?
Probably because you can't see the path.
Mm-hmm.
So again, our brain stops us and tries to protect us from things it doesn't know. And so if you're here and you're thinking, well, I'm not ready, but I just want to hear about it. You probably are more ready than you think. You just are blocked by the unknown. Yeah. Or you're here to help your parents, and that's a whole nother thing. And, we can help you with that as well.
Go to all the same places, and we are those people that have helped our parents and helped many clients with their parents.
Godspeed, right?
Yes.
So, yes.
We walk you through that path. Yes.
Yep.
I was going to say easily. It's not always easy, but we will get you through it.
We've done it. So not always easy, but it is necessary. So
so this is a great place to take your own answers to these questions, and start a conversation with someone that's going to help you, through this next phase. Is that your partner, your spouse, to have a further conversation with them? Is it a time to have a conversation with your adult kids and see what pieces they might be able to give you some insight on, or some help or physical help to get started, or starting that conversation with us and helping bring some clarity to that strategy and that timeline. And even if it's a long way out, it's always good to just lay out that plan.
Yep, for sure. You could start a downsizing journal or checklist. You can start with that guide, and then create a little notebook of where listing of places that you might want to go, or things that you want your future to look like. You can tour a small house or community, and just for the experience, and see what you think you might like for that next step. You can start cleaning things out in the area that's irritating you the most. That's where I would probably start. Whatever feels the heaviest and feels like, ugh, I need to get that off of my back. That's probably the thing that you've been avoiding. And that's the one that will make you feel the lightest once you get started and help you with momentum.
Yeah, and if any of these steps feel overwhelming to just get started in them, there are so many resources, some common sense and some that when we started working in this arena years ago, we didn't even know some of them existed, but great, organizing resources, physical resources to help move things or organize at your current home, placement resources that can help you just ask those important questions when you go on tours and know all of the communities in your area. Of course, real estate agents like us that can talk to you about that equity in your current home and how that might be best transferred to the next phase. So if there's any step that you're like, okay, I am feeling ready, I had a lot of yeses, but I don't know how to get started, we can definitely help you, connect you with those resources.
Yep. So ask yourself the questions, listen to yourself, see where you're at in it. If you're not ready now, ask yourself the questions again in 6 months and see where you are. But I think everybody, no matter whether you're going to downsize or not, everybody could stand to lighten their load a little bit of their stuff and just to start that process.
Yeah.
To feel like you're moving towards something.
Yeah, you don't have to be all in to take that first step. You just have to care about the version of you that's waiting on the other side.
Yep.
So awesome. Well, we will be back next week. And if you need any resources or want to reach out to us, our website, downsizingroadmap.com. Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.